Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lobby Talks by Atollo. My name's James Lemon, the founder of Atollo. And this is our weekly chat with a leader, a mentor, an expert from around the industry who shares their perspective on what they're seeing, where they've come from, the highs and lows of working in hospitality. It's been a phenomenal season so far. And today I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Robin Stuart. Robin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Robin, you're joining us today from Mexico, which is very unlike Lobby Talks because it's not your home. You're actually traveling. The industry is coming back again. So,
Yes.
How are you, and what's taking you to Mexico?
I'm very well, thank you. And I'm in Mexico to do some training of butlers within a resort that I'm staying at. And it's very fascinating. I'm excited because it's the first time for a while that I've been able to do this.
Excellent, really good. Well, look, thank you so much for sparing time out of your day. And for those of you that are familiar with Lobby Talks, this is our second attempt to chat, disrupted by tech issues the first time around. But I'm pretty sure this one will run smooth. So, Robin, let's get into it. Obviously, we're not meeting in our respective homes or at your client site. We love in Lobby Talks to meet really in the heart of the hospitality industry in the lobby. So, what lobby have you taken us to today?
Right, it's the Gol or Gal Face Hotel, Colombo, Sri Lanka, an iconic property built in 1864. I stayed there several times when I was recruiting staff for the family I worked for in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, where I was a house manager in charge of a multinational staff of approximately 200, and fell in love with Sri Lanka and its people. And that's the reason why I chose that.
No, fantastic. Well, I've never been to Sri Lanka, but what's the secret to great Sri Lankan hospitality? What could we expect as we kick back in the lobby today?
Kick back, it is the wherewithal of the people, the industry within Sri Lanka. The hospitality industry is a very important part of their infrastructure, and they just want to help you all the time. One of my times that I went to do some recruiting, I had 70 people to interview with over a 2-day period. You can't do that, but I'm lucky enough to have an instinct where I can see people who are good, and I managed to get 25 of them to come back with me. It's phenomenal. It really was an amazing experience.
Fantastic. Well, let's definitely relax and get started then. So, Robin, our first section is called Your Career in 60 Seconds. You obviously alluded a little bit as to what you get up to at work, but maybe if you're up for the challenge, we'd love to hear a summary of your hospitality career.
Okay, fine. I have a career spanning approximately 40 years in hospitality, both in hotel management and in private service. That's where I was a butler. And within that, I consolidated a wide range of skills and knowledge. Latterly, as a butler house manager, I have always believed and followed that the best working practice is based on trust and confidentiality. I've been very fortunate to hold senior positions of responsibility with ultra-high net worth families, including royalty and other deserving establishments where maintaining these standards were important. To share and give back the knowledge, experience, and skill sets I gained through my career, I undertook a teaching certificate so that I could provide formal training in butling and household management, hence the setting up of my company Exceeding Expectations. Recently, as a founding member, I have helped set up the Alliance of Professional Butler Trainers with other like-minded people to promote the role of the professional butler, upholding that butlers are taught professionally to high standards and to create an understanding of the intrinsic traits and characteristics of the butler role.
I love it. Fantastic. So obviously butlering, I think people really see as this real symbol of luxury hospitality, don't they? I mean, you're talking there about people having butlers in their homes. That's a whole nother world. But certainly, I think if people are going away into a hotel or resort and there's a butler or shared butler, it feels real kind of pinnacle of what you can achieve. Do you think that's going to be the case going forward with everything going on in the world? Do you think there's still a demand for kind of butler services? And if so, why is it? What is the ongoing appeal of having a butler on your leisure trip or your business trip?
It's basically a unique selling point, isn't it? Offering a butler service. It has been around for a while, and I don't see it ever diminishing because people like to have an enjoyable experience or to have an experience whereby it is a wow experience and it exceeds their expectations of staying at their resort. That's how I would see it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's hope we get some people watching thinking, actually, maybe butlering's for me. Maybe that would be the perfect career choice for many people. You've obviously had a phenomenal experience. So let's give them a bit of a taster. Our next section is called Good Day, Bad Day. Now, I think we've had people from marketing and finance. We've had GMs. You're our first kind of luxury butler on Lobby Talks, Robin. So I'm sure you've got some amazing stories. Maybe you could take us through, your very best day in your career, and also the flip side, your
Okay,
worst
right.
day.
That was actually a very difficult point for me to come through, because every day in hospitality for me was a good day. It was a fix that I loved. The interaction with both guests and staff, seeing guests smile whilst being served was enough. Simple fact of being personally thanked by the mother of the bride for a wonderful wedding reception, by seeing the look of complete surprise and genuine amazement of your employer or principal at being seated at a beautifully decorated table with items from IKEA of all places. That's one of the ladies I used to work for. Every time I came home back to Ireland, I went to the IKEA store and brought them some sand, colored sand or colored stones, and just put them onto the table. Indeed, this particular same lady that I worked for, I brought back miniature bottles of Bailey's cream. She couldn't believe how wonderful it tasted, but she then complained to me that she said, "What have you done, Robin? I'm on a diet." But they were delicious, and she drank them all.
Fantastic. No, really good stuff. And I think you're obviously wired in a way that you see the positive in everything. And I think a lot of people in their hospitality time are like that. But maybe you could get into some of the sordid details. What's been your worst day as a butler, Robin?
Well, one time it wasn't as actually as a butler when I was within management within the hospitality. I was a duty manager at a place called the Old Inn, Crawfordsburn, County Down in Northern Ireland. I had helped set up a wood-paneled restaurant in a U-shape for that day's wedding reception. Everything was going very well, and we had just cleared the main course plates. And Jimmy, who was our wonderful maitre d' and sommelier, and he was Glaswegian, and he was a lovely character. But the interesting point with his perspective was that when he was sober, you couldn't understand him. But when he was tasting the wines and he had a few too many, you could understand the Glaswegian accent. But anyhow, coming back to the little story, he was about to announce for the guests to be upstanding for the bride and groom to cut their cake, giving the staff time to put the cake into portions to serve guests with tea or coffee after their dessert. There was usually enough room for staff to move between the wood paneling and the tables that we had set up. Unfortunately, several guests had moved their chairs backwards just at the moment when Jimmy was walking behind the guests, carrying the bottom tier of the wedding cake with the silver stand, when he tripped on one of the chair's legs, fell against the wood paneling, still holding the cake, and hit his head on one of the restaurant painting frames, resulting in a huge gash on his forehead. Blood poured everywhere, including the wedding cake. By the time Jimmy regained composure, he fled into the pantry seeking help. Fortunately, our pastry chef was able to come to the rescue by removing the blood-soaked icing, and within 15 minutes, the redecorated cake with a royal icing had been made. That had been made earlier, was back on the table in front of the bride and the groom. And as it turned out that the majority of the wedding party had not noticed the drama of that day. So wedding parties, as you would appreciate, are asked to bring the cake, table, plan, and place cards the night before the reception. There was another evening I noticed there was a very bad atmosphere amongst the party of the wedding guests, and I tried unsuccessfully to calm things down. And to behold, the next morning I received a telephone call to say the wedding had been called off, and could they have their deposit back? What a laugh. I said to myself, they'll not get anything back at all. And another day, I was in Nashville, Tennessee, working at Opryland Hotel and Convention Center. It was a 2,000-bedroom hotel, and each room had 2 double beds, and they could accommodate 4 people. So you were talking about 8,000 people at one time. And I was on the front desk from early in the morning with 30 other check-in staff. Unfortunately, management had booked had booked a medical convention on the last day of the lawyers' convention. Chaos ensued. Management were nowhere to be seen. They were in hiding, and we at the front desk had to contend and placate very angry doctors and lawyers for the whole day who were trying to check in when there were no rooms available. That was a nightmare, I must admit.
Oh my goodness.
I
feel wrong. We've opened a can of worms here. I mean, it's going to be story. It could be story after story, isn't it? I think when you work in the industry long enough across hotels and private families and butlering, I'm sure it generates a whole host of stories. But that is just amazing. I suppose the crux of this. What do you feel are some of the defining qualities of a good hospitality leader when you're in a crisis, when you're at the front line as a butler or responding to this stuff? What makes a great kind of hospitality person?
I follow the 3 C's: cool, calm, and collected.
Nice. Enough said. Brilliant.
You don't want to see me if I lose it, because I would be up at the ceiling trying to make myself scarce as well. But
really?
Fortunately, that has never happened.
Absolutely. And now you're running your own business. There's nowhere to hide. You just got to be out there making it happen.
Yes.
Good stuff. Look, our next section called Last Day on Earth, and it sounds like you've had the classic hospitality experience, Robin, of a chance to travel the world, see the world, taste the world. It sounds absolutely phenomenal, the places you've been. I suppose, look, worst case, if there was just kind of 24 hours left and you just had one more hotel experience, one more restaurant experience, one more event in you, talk us through your last stay on Earth.
Okay, fine. Well, believe it or not, I am very fond of a little hotel in County Wicklow, south of Dublin, called Hunters. And it has been run by the same family for nearly 200 years. And it has an old world charm about the property. So, it would be a luxury for me to be able to have the last 24 hours. And I wouldn't care what room, because they are all very pleasant. And they have an amazing menu, so that would help as well too. Going on to what meal would you want as your last? Is that all right?
Yeah, perfect.
I would actually go to ask for the tasting menu with wine at in Oxford Street, Belfast.
Okay.
Stevie and Elaine, lovely people who've opened this restaurant up and have been running very successfully for the last number of years. That would be my last meal, as they say.
Perfect. And what is it about that meal? What is it about that place that really stands out for you, do you think? What is it? Is it food? Is it service? Like, what is it they're getting right that others could learn from?
It's the ambience, the service, the time that they take with you, the guest or the client, to allow you to understand what you're eating and to understand the wine, etc. It's just very, very nice, and you're very welcomed all the time.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? I think all these little pieces make up the experience, understanding the food, the wine, and having someone to kind of welcome you and talk you through it. And I think as the industry's getting back to normal, we think we're all really craving those experiences. I think there's been a lot of self-serve, hasn't there? Just stuck at home for a couple of years. We really do want to have an experience where we get served. And I think it'll be a really interesting, not sure what your experience has been, but really interesting tension, because there's so many new people coming into the industry being trained up that potentially the experiences we've been craving aren't quite what we wanted. But I know that's something that training managers and GMs around the world and restaurants and hotels are sweating every day, trying to get things back to a great quality of experience. So we'll see. Good stuff. Well, look, I'd love to dwell on our section that we call the guest book, because this is when you leave any venue, you always want to leave a few comments behind. And likewise, when you think about your hospitality experience, the role of mentors in hospitality is always to give back, to share, to try and help others understand where they've come from. So I'd love to talk it through. You've got this phenomenal deep expertise in luxury service, and that's something that there is obviously every year a whole generation of people trying to learn and encapsulate and bring to their work. So maybe you could talk us through it. What are some of the wisdom, your key messages that you'd share with people kind of following your footpath?
Right. I would always start with good service being just the starting point. It is, as now that I had been a butler, it was the ability, the creation and the desire of everyone within your team to achieve outstanding service that the guest or client can only dream about, that once reached ensures that the establishment is truly setting a standard of service that cannot fail to impress. Another area would be communication. Effective communication is an essential requirement of numerous formal and informal contacts that occur during the working day. Whether it's a company, family, or a guest member, managers, supervisors, or work colleagues, communication should never be undervalued, as it affects every aspect of our lives as we strive for excellence in our standards of work at work. I have always encouraged people to, with regard to communication, as being very important to have a communication style which includes enjoying communicating with everybody, being able to be approachable and open as a listener, and tending to ask and persuade rather than demanding or telling people what to do, and being sensitive to the needs and feelings of everyone, and being willing to explain why policies or certain policies have been introduced. As a manager, I have always liked to be hands-on, and I've always led from the front, and I believe in teamwork and feel that this promotes staff loyalty and adaptability.
So if we explore communication skills, I think that's a really interesting one, because I think everyone would agree with you. You know, to work in hospitality, you absolutely have to be able to work with different kinds of people and the different stress levels. But I think we all recognise it's been a really tough 2 years, and potentially people are not feeling particularly confident and not feeling particularly enthused about life. But they've fallen into hospitality. It could be pubs and restaurants, hotels. How do you start to build back those communication skills, that confidence? What would you do with someone that you were kind of mentoring, Robin, who is just starting off in their hospitality career, and you wanted to really help them be a great communicator? Where would you start?
Where would I start? By listening, or trying to listen to what they're asking for, and trying to encourage them by asking questions. I think if the person or the mentee is able to put forward a point of view, you can then, from that point of view, work out what they are looking for. It's just a matter of encouragement, I think, to allow the mentee or the staff member to say if they're happy or not happy, see if they have a problem, and whereby you can assist them with that problem. It's, communication, as I said a minute ago, it is so important. It's a two-way flow. And if you can't listen to somebody, then you shouldn't be in hospitality. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. No, really interesting. So I want to move on to butlering. So for you, obviously, butlering is the pinnacle role in hospitality. What is it you love about it? Where did your passion for butlering come from, and how did you grow that passion over the years?
By being willing and able to serve people to the utmost ability of myself. As I said at the very beginning, I've always enjoyed seeing the reaction of the guests or the clients or the principals at what you're doing. Of course, you've had good days and bad days, as we've said before, but nevertheless, butling, I find it's more personable. Within a hotel or resort, you are dealing with any number of people who are there for maybe 2 or 3 days or just one night. But still, the experience that they expect would be the same as if it's somebody that you're working for years on end. The lady that I worked for in Austria, she had homes around the world, and I would have traveled with her. And it was amazing. We just one experience. She had a yacht, and she had berthed. Well, the captain had berthed the yacht at the Monte Carlo car racetrack, and a super yacht came in beside her, and she couldn't see the race. So she phoned up the shipyard in Germany and ordered a new one. It became a super yacht. And I was very fortunate to be with her when she took delivery of it. And she had it stayed in Antibes, and she asked the captain to take it over to the Caribbean, whereby we did a maiden voyage. throughout the Caribbean islands. And there was one incident that I remember, which was very funny. It was Virgin Gorda, where Richard Branson has his property, Necker Island, and Madame wanted to have a look at it. So had the tender brought out, and she went over to Necker Island to have a look at the island and the accommodation, but came back again. And during her trip away, another yacht had berthed or dropped anchor beside us in Virgin Gorda, and their captain had contacted our captain and asked how many guests did we have, because he had 170 guests with staff, 70 staff, I believe, and we weren't allowed to, our captain wasn't allowed to say who was on board our vessel. And as it turns out, Madame and her partner, plus 30 crew members, one of which was myself, because as the butler, I was the traveling butler, and there were 4 other people with me. And it was very fascinating to see that we were a larger yacht than the yacht that had the 170 paying guests on in Virgin Gorda.
I love it. Well, you had to be big because you had to see over all the other yachts when you're watching car races and things like that. I love it. I absolutely love these stories, Robin. This is it's amazing. I mean, it really is. I think for many people, another world, isn't it? And I think as you say, in return for service, in return for that loyalty and creating that guest experience, it really does sound like you're rewarded with a phenomenal lifestyle and a chance to see and be part of locations and experiences that are out of the realm of many of us.
Yes, unfortunately, though, a large part of it was due to I had to be away from my family. So because I was abroad and being a butler, you weren't allowed to have your family with you under certain circumstances. And whilst it was very interesting and very fascinating, in my latter job in Saudi Arabia, I was allowed to go home every 6 weeks for a week, which was very beneficial to me. But you hear stories of butlers earning huge amounts of money, but I certainly wasn't.
No. But I think that probably is the flip side of these kind of hospitalities and traveling around the world, isn't it? I know there's stories of general managers, for example, in these very glamorous remote locations, but actually if you take a family with you, it can be quite tough to adjust to the local community and school. So it's definitely a lifestyle choice, both before and after children, I think. But really interesting to have had this kind of light shed on it.
Oh, most definitely, because I wouldn't change anything, really. You are often asked if you wanted to go back in time, what would you do? And I don't feel that I would want to change anything. The life stories that I've seen, heard, I have signed so many confidentiality agreements, you have no idea. I'm not allowed to talk about anybody or anything, but I have kept diaries, and my children, whenever I'm away, will be left these diaries. But there's nothing salacious or anything, because the majority of them, the majority of people that I worked for were nice to work for. Really.
Yeah, I'd start that book now if I were you, right on the plane on the way back. And obviously, I realised we we're going to read it for a few years, but all good. So I want to explore luxury with you, because I know one of the so obviously you mentor with Atollo, you give your time, and we're really incredibly grateful for it. A big theme of the industry is luxury, retraining a workforce who've been at home for 2 years in kind of the very best of luxury expectations and how to serve luxury guests and luxury properties. Talk us through your perspective on that. What's next for luxury? What should people be thinking about if they're looking to work in a luxury hotel or restaurant or cruise liner?
Basically, I think the bottom line is that what you yourself would want, what you yourself would expect if you were paying a large amount of money for something. You'd want to have an experience. You want to be wowed. That to me would be the simplest way of me explaining that. You also would have to be patient, to have an understanding of what or who the client would be and what they themselves would expect. The number of houses that I worked in as a butler, each household had a different way of doing things. The lady of the house wanted, a particular service to be put out for a meal for guests, etc. The lady that I worked for in Austria, she had an amazing collection of Limoges china in each household, and it was beholden to me to ensure that she had a different service each time that she had something to eat. There was one particular occasion when I spotted a service which had green and red spots, enamel spots. I brought it out, served Madame her meal, and then she turned to her partner and she said, "You cannot buy this service anymore. Those dots were rubies and emerald chips." And I nearly died. I could not believe. But it's part and parcel of the story of being a butler. You do what your bit at the end of the day, and it's smile all the time.
Smile all the time. Nothing's too much of a problem. No, I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a really amazing experience, and I love the idea that you put yourself in those shoes. What if you were having that experience of a lifetime? What would you expect? And I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? I guess what would you recommend to employers who are bringing people on in luxury? I mean, is it important, for example, that people get a chance to maybe spend the night in the luxury hotel that they're in, or should they get a chance to eat at the luxury restaurant that they're a waiter at? Is there some kind of common ways that you can start to train that hospitality mindset?
I think that's a very important point that you've made, because if the staff do not taste, smell, experience a point of luxury, they themselves will not be able to sell it on, because a lot of in hotels at the moment, especially in Butling, they expect the butlers to sell products, the more expensive wines, the more expensive restaurants within the resort. The establishment I'm here at the moment, they've got 5 restaurants, and here, so the point of the butler would be to encourage their guests to have a new experience. So it is very important that management understand this, that they are prepared to spend a little bit more money on the training of their staff to understand what the guests are looking for, and to be able to explain how the wine tasted to the guest, how the food that they had last night, or how the crisp sheets of the bed were when they decided to go to bed that night. It's all down to it's touching, feeling, tasting. It's everything, really.
Yeah. No, I love it. And that really is the heart of luxury, isn't it? Is really kind of getting under the skin of those experiences. Lovely. Robin, unfortunately, we've kind of reached the end of our time together. We're at the checkout, as it were. But I've really enjoyed our chat. It's a world I know very little about, both as a customer and never having had the chance to work in it. But I really feel like you shone an incredible light on the world of luxury butlering and really kind of that personal customer service today. So thank you so much for sharing with us and taking us through your stories.
Thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed the experience. Thank you.
No, our pleasure. So that really wraps up kind of season 1 for us of Lobby Talks. We're going to take a short break, but hopefully you've enjoyed our shows. They're all available on the Atolo community at myatolo.com. They're all available on our YouTube channel as well. We really strive at Atolo to support and develop and unlock the potential of people who want to work in hospitality and are working in hospitality. So please do join. It's completely free. We offer community events and discussions and speed mentoring. We offer connection, a chance to network and meet with mentors from around the industry. And now we offer courses as well. So if you want to get accredited in hospitality, you get a really lovely chance to go on your own personal coaching journey with a mentor and get certified at the end of it as well. So we're really here to support the rebuilding of the industry and are delighted to be doing that. Massive thank you as ever to Robin and all of our mentors who give up their time completely voluntarily to support the industry they love, to give back to future leaders, future people coming on through, delivering the hospitality experiences of tomorrow. It's definitely a tough world out there right now. So hopefully wherever you are, you're safe and enthused about tomorrow and the hope that community and sticking together can bring. In the meantime, stay safe and look after yourselves. Thanks for joining us today. Bye-bye.